All right. Welcome to Small Business Pivots. And if you know, no one can say their name better than the business owner themselves. So if you've listened to the podcast before, you know I let our guest introduce themselves, their business, and a little bit about them before we get started into the meat of the subject. So go ahead, my friend.
Well, Michael, thank you for having me. My name is Mendy Turk. I'm the owner of 3 Arrows Coaching and Consulting Group. I love working with business owners, managers, growth-minded individuals to basically get them unstuck and figure out how to move forward, whether that's just brainstorming ideas that you've kind of got just rolling around for your business or your head of where to go to next, to actually implementing those very changes that you say you want to do and holding you accountable in the process.
Wow. Sounds like you help a lot of people because we all have those problems,
What?
right? I'm sorry. I don't. I don't.
Right.
Maybe you and a few others, but so let's talk about you today. No.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you help small business owners.
Mhm.
Is there a particular size that you find these challenges in more than others?
I don't know that there's a size of business necessarily because I've worked with businesses that, have over 200 employees, um, to businesses that have three. It's more of how long have you been in business,
Hmm.
right? The business owners I really like working with have been in business at least 7 years. And so they've ridden a couple of the waves, right? Because we've all experienced those really highs in our business, and hopefully we haven't crashed.
Right.
But we've experienced some lows too, and so those business owners tend to understand a little bit more about the risk, and are open to trying some new things.
So let's talk about your past just a little bit because I know people like to kind of know a little bit about the journey that someone's been
Yeah.
before they hear kind of their advice or guidance. And so kind of catch us up today where you are.
Well, I actually started in a construction zone. I was a construction coordinator out of college, and definitely male dominated. But I was working for the business. They were doing their own general contracting. And so I was a construction coordinator for them and got to build a beautiful building in 5 years, taking it all the way from plans through the city and all of that. And actually got to then stay with that same company. And I moved into the sales department where I got to pull five pretty siloed businesses together, all asking for the same product, but just a different way. So a lot of that was packaging. I don't need it to be a fully boxed product, or I need this to be shelf ready and look good. Did that within about 18 months of joining the sales team, and then just went directly to work for the domestic sales group, where we changed the way we went to business. And so at the time, the company that I was working for was about 40 years old. And so everything had been done, really with a handshake and a checkbook.
Yeah.
That is not the way you want to do business today.
Listen,
Um,
business owners,
yeah,
handshake and checkbooks. No, no.
yeah, exactly. You want a contract. You want to tell people if you're selling a widget or software or something, what the parameters are of which they can sell it. And you want to encourage them to know how you want your product sold. And a lot of what I got to implement was pricing policies. Because after leaving that company, I went to work for the consultant that we had utilized. And so got to work with some really cool brands, some great attorneys, know a lot about intellectual property, pricing policies, and nobody needs to wear an orange jumpsuit. I mean, I don't think any of us look that good in that color orange.
Yeah.
So I've done that. I've done a stint in property management, going back to construction, and got to manage, the financial side, reports back to owners, along with the contractors, and making sure the tenants were happy and the owners were happy. To then just going to work for myself. So added coaching about 5 years ago now, and it's just a beautiful combination of services to be able to provide both consulting and the coaching component, because none of us leave our stuff at home, when we go to work.
Right.
And a lot of times when we get home, we don't leave the stuff at work.
Right.
So as business owners and even managers, you're always worried about your people. And are they doing what they say they're doing? Are they being able to make ends meet? So there's a lot that can be weighing on an owner or a manager's mind in their day to day.
So let's talk about the business owner here because most of our listeners are business owners. And I hate to hit it where it hurts, but we got to be honest if we're trying to help each other, right? So
For sure.
with business owners, we can feel imposter syndrome. We can feel vulnerable. We can feel, I don't want anyone to figure out that I haven't figured it out. And
Mhm.
so we were kind of talking earlier about that and that you could talk about that for quite some time. So let's start there because I want to break the barrier, right? A lot of times I have found that with business owners, they're afraid to ask for help. And this is kind of
Oh,
one of
yeah.
those things that let's break that barrier. And all the business owners, or if you're considering being a business owner and you're listening to this, let's just put our egos to the side.
Mhm.
Let's get some humility and really listen because I don't know of business owners that can't relate to vulnerability or
Yeah.
imposter syndrome or
Mhm.
anything like that.
Yeah.
So let's just start there with what you're finding, the challenges that you work with, maybe how they can overcome that, and any other insights.
Yeah. First of all, it takes a lot of courage, right? To say, I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to provide this service. But in that courage, you can't have courage without vulnerability, right? I think Brene Brown, she's got several books on this,
Yeah.
for sure. And so, it's hard to like when you decide you want to do it, to open your own business, there's not a business manual out there. There's not this magical book that says this is exactly how to start your business.
Okay.
Like
Can I can
business
I
structure, all the things.
can I just add a little sarcasm to that? For our
Sure.
business owners that are listening, there are courses out there that promise that it's a
Yes,
little business in a box, but it doesn't work. Quit
exactly.
spending money on those things. So, anyways, go ahead. I was like, for
Exactly.
those that keep buying these courses over and over,
Yeah.
the only people getting rich and growing their business are the people creating the courses. And
Mhm.
there is no business the same, even if they're in the same
Uh,
industry.
for sure. Now, the one caveat it is there are business principles that
Yes.
apply no matter the business, no matter. You need to set up your accounting. You need legal documents. I mean, there's just some basic principles, business principles that apply across the board. But I mean, no one likes to admit they don't have it figured out. I mean, in the beginning, I knew I needed to have my business structure set up. Has it been set up? No, it's still just a sole proprietor. I know I need to fix that,
But
right?
you're so busy helping others, that's more important.
Exactly, exactly. And even, social media, that is changing all the time. Whether you're on Threads, are you going to do a TikTok? And then what happens when TikTok shuts down if you've put all of your social media, your resources into that? And it is changing so rapidly that unless you're in the marketing sector and specialize specifically in social media, like we don't have it figured out. And it's okay to admit that. Like nobody's expecting you to know it all.
I think a lot of times we feel like people do expect to us because they're looking up to us.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have found that more employees, more staff with the businesses we work with, they respect their business owner more when they say, I don't know. Let's
Yeah.
figure it out together, or let's hire someone that can do this.
Yeah. And those are some three powerful words right there as a leader of your company. If
Yeah.
you don't know, don't brush it aside. Say you don't know. but you're working to figure it out. Because think about back to COVID, right? Nobody knew,
No.
not a single business owner knew what was what. Oh, am I essential? I mean, to me, I'm essential,
Well,
right?
I
Like,
felt like I was till they told me I wasn't, but
exactly. Coffee shops, they were essential.
yeah.
They became, where I was in Stillwater, the ones that, really thrived, they adapted and added the grocery portion. They added some toilet paper, they added flour, they added, the staples that people were struggling to get. And so I think, saying I don't know, and as you mentioned just a minute ago, saying, let's try to figure it out together. That's powerful. That's telling, as an employee, that's saying, okay, they trust me to come to them with some ideas. Now that as a leader, I'm going to weigh those ideas, right? Not all of them are good, right, for the
Right.
long term of the company. But maybe in the short term, that's a great idea. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So including your team,
Hmm.
or if you don't have a team, solopreneur, include outside guidance, a mentor, a coach, or
Yeah.
even on LinkedIn, there's plenty of people out there. If you just ask them a question in their inbox, they'll
Yeah.
gladly help you.
True. But I think we all have to be wary of that, right? Like if we wouldn't accept, if their criticism comes across really harsh to us, would we accept their ideas
Hmm. Yeah.
too? So, I mean, that takes a little bit of weighing, but I think as a solopreneur, if you have like what's called a board of directors for you, that is people that kind of stretch you. That's people that, know your heart and know kind of aligned in values. They don't necessarily have to be in your business, but to be a business owner and help you kind of bolster you up, going, hey, like, we've kind of noticed this trend happening in our business. Have you given it any thought? So having a board of directors or like a huddle group that you can kind of lean into that, they're not going to share. I don't necessarily want to say that that group is a vault, so to speak, but you want people that are going to ride with you through the waves and not berate you out in public. They're going to support you and call in and check on you when things are hard and going, hey, I've seen this marketing going on, or I've seen this in the forums or whatever. Is there anything I can do to help? Is there anything, any possible way I can support you in what's going on? And if that's a glass of wine or a whiskey, whatever,
Yeah.
or coffee, if you're not a drinker, sometimes it is just getting you out of your element and out of, your zone, to just breathe and
Yeah.
holding space for you.
I won't mention this business owner's name, but yesterday we had a coffee scheduled for 8 o'clock, first thing in the morning. And the day before, because we've had inclement weather at the time of this
Right.
recording, the snow and everything else, they had busted pipes at their office, and their pipes are above the office. So he showed me video of their
Oh.
video with water pouring down in
Hmm.
the office on top of desk and computers. And I love this guy to death. He kept our coffee meeting.
Oh my gosh.
I would have been in the office first thing that morning, but he kept our, because that's the kind of, he's like,
Yeah.
that's part of being, that's part of owning a business, right? It can wait. My time is with you, and I scheduled that time with you. So this is more important. And for
Yeah.
him, I'm sure it was more like, I just need someone else, a happy face to see. Cause as soon as I go in the office, maybe it's going to be a different emotion, right? But I
I
mean,
mean, 100% different emotion, 100%.
but my point is that there's challenges left and right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a battlefield, and like he told me in our coffee, he was like, "You can't do this alone."
No, exactly. And I think that's one of the other things that I see a lot of business owners neglect, if you will, or kind of put to the back burner, and that's taking care of themselves. right? Like I saw your post, you're training again for a marathon.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank
Running's
you.
not my thing.
I've heard that more than
Right?
once.
Right? So, but yet you're setting aside that time to do the training. Well, I'm not training for anything in particular, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't devote the time for self-care. And I think a lot of business owners don't take the time to do that. Like you've got to build fun into your day or your work week. Otherwise, you're only coming in as half a human, right? When you're not having fun, laughing, whether that's at work or something, aside from that, like you got to get away and step aside for a minute to just reconnect to yourself.
Yeah, this business owner I'm referring to has been on the podcast before, and I'll have him back on after he gets through this because he didn't even share that with me till maybe 20 or 30 minutes after we had already started talking. So his full attention was in self
Yeah.
care of getting something out of me to fill his cup, right?
Hmm.
And so,
Hmm.
anyways, I think that's so important to take care of yourself. Let's talk about disc because when we're
Yeah,
talking about being vulnerable, we all have different tolerances. And so, disc is
completely.
predictable behavior traits.
Hmm.
So, I'll let you go ahead and start with, first of all, what it is and why it's so important to understand not just who other people are, but who you are yourself. So when you're talking about self care, to
Yeah.
me, I find DISC to be one of my most powerful tools to use because I can gauge myself and I understand what my triggers are. But
Hmm.
go ahead and I'll just let you
Yeah.
share what DISC is and how it works.
Okay, so first, I think what DISC isn't, it's not IQ, it's not skills, education, experience, it's not anything in that. It's not even your values. It's more needs and your motivation. It's behavioral, somewhat emotional, and it's a pretty good descriptor. It's definitely a descriptor of communication style, right? And how I want to say kind of how your brain works, if that makes sense. Are you faster paced? Are you slower paced? Are you task oriented? Are you people oriented? And so that to me is DISC in a nutshell.
What are the different, it's an acronym.
Mhm. Mhm.
So what are the different letters?
So it's DISC, not K. So the D is dominance, the I is influence, the S is steadiness, and the C is conscientiousness. And so both your D and your C, they're task oriented, but your D is faster paced, your C is slow paced. Your I is a faster pace but people oriented, and your S is people oriented as well, but they're slower paced. And so I happen to be an SC is my my working mode. My non-working mode happens to actually be the S or CS, which depending upon who I'm working with or the project that I'm in, dictates kind of which one pulls ahead, if you will. What about you, Michael? You're into disc. What is your what are you?
So SC. So
Okay,
I'm a high S. So
nice.
we are. I'll tell you how powerful it is when someone else tells me when they're not an S and they tell me they're a good people reader. I'm like, no, you're not. No, yes, I am. I'm like, no, you're not. And they'll ask me why, and I'm gonna say because S's are the highest, most empathetic, passionate people you can find, sincere, and we know when someone's not being sincere because we feel it. So that's one powerful way. But let's talk about the communication styles
Yeah.
because it really helps in the workplace.
Mhm.
And can you kind of share some examples of what that looks like once you understand who people are and how you could shift your tones or your direct conversations to get
Yeah,
better output from those you work with?
for sure. I think overall, the idea when you know and operate within DISC, like you're increasing your trust with people, you're increasing collaboration, and you're increasing your impact, which is all the things everybody wants to do, right? If you're a business owner, you want to create more impact in whatever service industry that you're in. And so, knowing kind of how you operate within these is kind of key. So, I think the beauty about DISC is we're actually all four of them. We pull upon them when it's called upon, right? I know a lot of people that have actually shifted their styles from when they had a very type A, very dominant boss that, was very focused and didn't want the details, right? They reverted, they might have been a D before, but they actually had to, I don't want to say squash that down, but that style wasn't needed as much, and they were able to lean into their secondary. Um, you typically don't go polar opposites. So a D isn't going to become an S, right? They're not going to become more people focused and more slower pace. They're going to still operate in that fast pace. They might just tone it down a little bit. And so I guess like a D wants you to get to the point, right? Again, I don't care so
No
much about
small
the
talk.
details. Yeah. Yeah. The the I want you to be stimulating. They want to know about your weekend. What do we have in common? What can we talk about that's really not work related? We'll get to that, but you know, hey, how's it going? Like they're super people oriented and want to know. I mean, it's influence. How can you create influence if you're not being stimulating and all of those things? The S really wants you to be pleasant. They want you to be nice and courteous. Don't talk down to me. Because are you hurting my feelings? Are you mad? Did I do something that I didn't know? And then the C really wants you to be precise. Give me the details so I can wade through it and decide what's important and what isn't, right?
Eventually. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but in the reverse, like you don't necessarily want to call out an S or a C in a meeting, right? They need time to respond and think through of like it being an SC. I want to think through of all of the other departments that are going to be affected. So like when I was doing the consulting with the pricing policies and setting the agreements in place, that touches every area of the business. It touches marketing, it touches customer service for sure, because now I've got to run credit checks. Has anybody talked to them? Do they know how much we're fixing to change the world? And you shipping, you can't just answer the phone and say, yeah, I'll get it out the door, because are they actually a customer right now? No, no, they're not. So we don't want our product going out the door to them, right? So an S is going to think about all of the other impacts to the business, right? If we're staying in that lane of running and operating a business. Whereas the I might not necessarily be your marketing person, but you do want your marketing people to kind of have somewhat of an I influence. You want them to have that influence, because is your brain going where it needs to go? And D, a lot of times, just wants to make the decision. The D is the person that really can make that quick decision without all of the information.
Yeah. That's a lot of information just in itself. But
Yeah.
I want to share because I've been introduced to disc for probably 2 decades now.
Mhm.
And I have found it to be more powerful for self discovery than it has for me to communicate with others. So, I'm an SC, but SCD, I have D in me when it comes to my work.
Mhm.
Because I've learned how to be more decisive, and knowing that S's and C's are indecisive until they
Mhm.
have all the facts. That's why I threw in that little eventually they make a decision,
Mhm.
the C's.
Yeah.
But because if you give them too many facts, it can be overwhelming. And
Mhm.
so for me, knowing that I have a tendency to be indecisive, I've shorten that fuse, if you will, and
Yeah.
vice versa for most C's are introverts.
Mhm.
And so since I'm an SC, I'm kind of in that category, but it doesn't mean that I can't improve
Yeah.
my public speaking because I speak in front of a lot of people and most S's and C's don't. But I went to Toastmasters, I went to communication classes, I've gone to so many things. I still practice.
Yeah.
And I learned over the COVID, when everything was shut down, some of my old tendencies started to creep back in. So I had to work those brain muscles again to,
Yeah.
improve. But
Yeah.
like you said, you're not going to go from a D to a C. You can
Yeah.
improve things, you can shift things, you can take some courses or classes.
Mhm.
But so I have found it to be very beneficial just for self improvement. If you're looking for something to self improve on, rather than get a book, go learn disc. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Because, like, under stress, for example, right?
yeah,
A D is going to be very much like a dictator. An I is going to be sarcastic. An S is going to be submissive. And a C is going to be withdrawn
yeah,
under stress. So, very rarely is, I mean, we've talked about this already, but very rarely is a D going to decide to be submissive,
right,
right? So, the when irritation happens, just some behavioral styles, the D is going to come with indecision. The I is going to, look for routine or avoid routine. The S is insensitivity, and the C is unpredictability. Those are their irritation points. And kind of like the, fears and motivators, the fear is being deceived because a D is motivated to win,
right,
right? And their fear is rejection. If you're all about influencing people and you're sitting in a room and you've asked a question and nobody's talking back to you, or they're all like either on their phones or just have you totally on ignore, like that hurts them at their core. At their
mhm,
core, they're motivated by the chase. The S, their fear is sudden changes because you've just totally rocked my world.
yeah,
Um, I like my things in order in a routine. And I'm motivated by connection. And then as a C, my fear is criticism because I have all the details, I have all the data, and I'm very much motivated by the process. And so think about when you're hiring people, right? How awesome would it be on your onboarding to
yeah,
have DISC as part of that? Because then you're like, oh, I got some insight into them before they've even started working for me.
mhm,
I know, John is going to want the details. He's going to want, here's our SOPs. Like
yeah,
in this little book. I mean, I don't know that anybody actually reads the employee manual, right? I mean, you hope they do, you
yeah.
want them to, but if it's 150 pages, where's the cliff notes, right? Where,
They'll refer to the employee
yes.
manual when it's
The
not in their
C though,
favor.
the C
Yeah,
though is probably going to read it,
yeah, actually read it. Yes,
so that is not your whole employee base.
right, yeah.
Like at all.
Well, I use it so like even in sales, like
Mhm.
everybody tells me I want where's all the A players and so I can't find an A player. And I'm like, okay, what industry are you in? Because if you're in like SaaS, like
Mhm.
software as a service or medical sales where it's real aggressive, you get your
Yeah.
nose bloodied in sales, you want that agitator, that guy that's
Yeah.
going to know go in there, the D. But if you're a salesperson at a funeral home, we don't want a D, right? You want a SC or a C
Yeah.
with a little D in them for
Yeah.
self motivation, but
Mhm.
somebody that's a little more empathetic and passionate, And so that just
Yeah.
shows you that not every role in a business is the same. And how, so I was leading into that because I wanted to see if you had any stories to share on how you've seen the impact of DISC on businesses that you've coached. So people can
So
get some examples of how that relate to it in their business.
yeah, so I actually did disc for a service-based business that I was working with. It was a massage school and chiropractic like clinic. And what really showed up for all of the students and the service providers is that the owners who were a married couple, one was a high D, low I, and the other one was a high I, low D.
Hmm.
So the amount of indecision in that business was significant because she thought he would make the decision. And he was like, no, this is her side. She needs to make the decision. So there was a lot of times that decisions wouldn't be made because they were afraid of hurting everyone's feelings, but thinking they were taking care of everyone. And it's like, okay, your lack of indecision is a decision.
Right. Yeah.
And you have all of these, and it's funny, most of the service providers, they were an I or an S. I think there was only one C out of the eight of them. And this the one lone C, she was definitely like, I need a process. I need to know what you want from me, when you want it from me, how you want it done. And everybody else was just like, eh, they can't decide, so I'm just not going to say anything. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is not what we need. We need some incentive for people. We need, these people need some personal assurances and encouragement that they're doing what you want them to do.
Absolutely.
And that
Absolutely.
the D really didn't know, the wife and the organization didn't know how to provide that to the students because she just couldn't relate.
Interesting. So what is the process for if someone's interested in disc?
So it's a, what is it, a 30 question assessment that, it really, you need to just, as with any multiple choice, you need to go with your first gut instinct and not overthink it because it says more about you than probably what you even realize. And so it is just a matter of taking an assessment and then having a debrief and figuring out how you want to take it forward. Because a lot of people take it for different reasons. One, people are like, oh, well, this is how I am. So I need to tell other people how to communicate to me. And it's like, mm, there's a little bit of that in
Yeah.
there. But, I think knowing how you come across is huge because none of us are on the other side of us when we're in a heated conversation, when we're trying to explain something, when we're just having a regular conversation. If we're being aggressive and really direct, people need to know I'm not mad at you. Like I this is kind of how I am, but if I can understand that that's how I come across, then I can choose, right? It's totally my choice to
Yeah.
soften it based off of facial reaction or body language, right? That's coming back at me. I think that's really the key with disc for what I've seen. It's helping people understand how they come across because they're not on the other side of themselves.
Yeah. And I know for myself, and this isn't about me, I'm just giving people examples that
Mhm.
they may or may not relate to because these aren't stories being made up. I mean, this is what I learned.
Right.
And that is I need a list, a
Mhm.
step by step list, or else I will procrastinate because in my head, I'll get overwhelmed, right, with
Yeah.
too much information. So I need it digestible
Mhm.
in a format that I can follow. And then I can usually
Yeah.
work around other people because I've got that list. But if I don't have that, and I didn't learn that until I learned DISC, until I went through the
Mhm.
assessment and I was like, here's some things you can work on, be more decisive and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And so that it's really powerful just for yourself as well as
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. And there's definitely strategies, right? Once you know what you are and being more aware of those things, you can kind of start seeing what other people are, or you might think have a better idea of what other people are that you communicate with pretty regularly or in a relationship with even, um, to know, hey, if I want to get through to them, at their core, I need to talk to them in this way. I need to, like with a C, I need to avoid the social talk if we're at work because they don't care about that. Whereas
Right.
the I totally wants to know the social talk. They want to be connected with you on a level outside of the office. Like if that's Henry's soccer or Jackson's baseball, or I'm into pottery or glass blowing, whatever. What are your hobbies outside of work that kind of make what's the other connection? Um, how are you building trust with those people? If you're being, focused on the task and being very just straightforward, the D's gonna like that.
Yeah.
Right? Um, So yeah, I think there's just different ways. And I mean, I offer that assessment and debrief, whether that's just a straight debrief, here's what it is, here's kind of what I'm seeing and what your results say, to actually having a couple sessions to help you better understand this is more in depth. This is what it means to be a D. This is what it means, when you're talking with people. And, if you came to me with maybe your assistant, or um, Stephanie in accounting or whatever, every time you go to her and she's just like in a corner, kind of like, why are you talking to me? It can help you better understand why you're getting those reactions and those responses.
Absolutely. So we've talked about it's okay to ask for help,
Mhm.
vulnerable,
Yeah.
and self discovery of what our triggers are.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people are interested. So, how can they follow you, get in touch with you?
Well, I'm LinkedIn just under my name, and then I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Three Arrows Coaching, and my website. I've just redone, and I'm still working on my new website, and getting everything back up to speed. But yeah, I'm around.
You are around.
ThreeArrowsCC.com.
And if you're in Oklahoma City,
Yeah,
we'll see you around.
exactly, exactly.
Well, I always end with one final question. If you were in front of a audience of business owners only, different sizes, different industries, what's one thing that's applicable to all of them? It could be a book they need to read, a quote, an insight, something you've learned.
I think there's two. One, I can't recommend the book enough, Mind Magic by James Doty. It's all about manifesting. And because he's a doctor, he provides the scientific areas and details about that, which for my mind made a lot of sense, and kind of broke it down. And there is value in it. Um, I think the other thing too is like it's time to be vulnerable and it's time to have fun. And they can coincide. It doesn't have to be scary.
Absolutely. Well, golden advice. Mendy, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Wish you success. And I know we'll run into each other soon. But
Yes.
for the rest of everybody else, I encourage you to go follow Mendy, learn more from her, and go learn more about DISC from her. So thanks again for your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Small Business Pivots. This podcast is created and produced by my company, Boss. Our business is growing yours. Boss offers flexible business loans with business coaching support. Apply in minutes and get approved and funded in as little as 24 to 48 hours at businessownershipsimplified.com. If you're enjoying this podcast, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share it as well. If you need help growing your business, email me at michael@michaeldmorrison.com. We'll see you next time on Small Business Pivots.